All righty, there he is. Where you look like a doctor. I swear. It's like I'm going for a checkup or something there. How you doing,
I have
man?
to
You
go
feeling
check
good?
Tua's ankle. If I was a
Yes.
doctor, the first thing I would do is check Tua's ankle.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think he got it. It was that Joey Bosa tackle, and he played with it throughout the game. I don't think it really had anything to do with it, but in the end, Joe, I said it today. It was all on Tua today. All on Tua to me had nothing to do with the Niners defense. He had time to make the plays. Receivers were open. DBs weren't draped all over the receivers. It wasn't like a whole bunch of defensive linemen just piling on Tua right before he had to get rid of it. No, he was able to make his throws. He was just, brother, he was off today. There's no other way to phrase it. And it just puts so much of a burden on everything else. And as I've told everybody, this is not a team that the defense is going to bail you out. It has to be the offense, and it has to be your passing offense. And if the guy pulling the trigger isn't sharp, and for the first time this year, he was off. He was just off.
I asked Tua
That's
if
it.
he was. I asked Tua if he was amped up, if the high throws were a result of being a little bit like emotionally jacked up for a big game, what Coach Mike McDaniel described as a playoff type game. He dismissed that, but it doesn't mean that maybe there wasn't a little bit of truth to that because he was uncharacteristically off. And Mike McDaniel acknowledged it. Tua acknowledged it. To his credit, he took all the blame in a very, not Zach Wilson type press conference, which was nice. He's the
What's what he should.
anti-Zach Wilson. If
He
anything,
should.
he's too hard on himself. Tua's hard on himself. And,
Yes.
at the end, he said, don't they think something like, we're not going to take this lightly or don't think we're going to take this lightly. It kind of reminded me of Tim Tebow's
Right.
promise speech after the Ole Miss loss. And I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that Tua is as emotional as Tebow, but he's very locked in and focused this year. Everybody from Darrell Bevel to Mike McDaniel to Tua say that Tua is putting in more time. He's obviously taking this renaissance very seriously. And now it's on him to make sure that one loss doesn't turn into two, that the West Coast trip doesn't become a disaster, that we don't start to spiral into this typhoon of questions about whether or not Tua can win on the road and he can win against good defenses and he can win with the pressure of the season on the line, because obviously there are some big road games ahead, the Chargers, the Bills, and the Patriots. So the final chapter of the story is yet to be written, and hopefully today is just an aberration.
I think it'll be an aberration. Actually, I actually feel better for the team next week because we were all like thinking it was going to be the worst thing in the world to be without Teron Armstead. And today, you cannot blame the loss on Teron Armstead. You can't say, "Oh, dude, the line caved in. Tua never had time." And this and that. They weren't going to run the ball with Teron, without Teron, against that front seven. I don't care. People say, "Oh, run the ball more." Whatever, dude. You're going to win by the arm of Tua and the passing and the rest of the guys making plays. And the plays were designed perfectly, Joe. The routes were run right there. The last play of the game to Gesicki, he puts the ball here, bro. If you put it here,
It's interesting.
If you put it here, the defender has no shot. By putting it here, you let the defender get in there, and then I give Gesicki just credit for trapping it. This was just a game where the kid was off, and I'm glad he laid on the sword, because that's what leaders do, man. On a game where you just played like dog shit, just say, man, I played like dog shit, and I let everybody else down. And to me, now next week you're going up against another Boza. Well, you did it this week. You
If
can
he
kill
returns, we'll see.
I
Did
think
he play today? Did he play
no,
today? Oh,
but I got to tell you something. I thought maybe there'd be a shot he'd play today for Mike. So he's not, right? I think he's just on this trip for like leadership on the West Coast. I think he plays.
No. I wasn't clear. You mentioned Joey Bosa, and I don't know if Joey Bosa returned from injury today. He's been out.
Oh, I'm
obviously.
not sure, but if he's there next week, my point is, even if he's there next week, you gave Tua enough time this week against the Niners, then you can do it next week, and all he has to do is hit the same throws he had. Joe, he threw for 300 yards and left 200 more on the field. Because
Yeah,
if
in
you
today's
catch all those
NFL,
balls,
300.
If you catch all those balls and you keep drives alive, he left 200 more yards on the field. He threw for 300 yards in a bad game. You covered a Dolphin quarterback who played a bad game and threw for 300 yards. Think about that.
We do know that in today's NFL, 300 yards doesn't mean what it used to mean. Kind of like 100 yards receiving doesn't mean what it used to mean. It was interesting. I asked Tua about third down because he's been as good as anybody in the NFL on third down, 0 for 7 today. I said, well, what's the common denominator? He said, poor communication. So it's a little concerning that at this point of the season, there are guys running routes and making breaks and cuts that aren't aligning with Tua's anticipation. He even mentioned
or maybe he means his poor communication.
Yeah, he also mentioned that on the fourth down completion to Gesicki, there were several other mistakes that were made on that play. So Tua was alluding to not just physical errors, but also mental errors, and that's certainly disappointing at this point in the season. Listen, it's one thing to lose to San Francisco. It was 33-17, but really it was 23-17.
Yeah.
It was an amazing
26-17. Let's give them that field goal. Once they made it a 9-point game, that's when they won the game. It was over right there.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is the shame is not losing to the 49ers. The missed opportunity, of course, is losing to a 49ers team when they're playing the 262nd pick in the draft at quarterback, a rookie, and the only turnover you get is X on a fourth down pass that he probably should have just knocked down. So, and McDaniel was lamenting that too when I asked about the kid's performance and the Dolphins' defense. The thing that he said is no turnovers. We needed more turnovers. We need more turnovers. Why aren't they getting more turnovers? I don't know. There should be more turnovers.
And
Bradley Chubb, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker, Javon Holland. Where are the turnovers?
And guys are there next to those receivers to make plays, and they're not making the plays. And they're not good enough. That's all. There's a lot of guys back there in that secondary that aren't good enough. And that's not helping that front seven out when it comes to that. And so if you got a secondary that can't really stay, I mean, X can't run, he can't cover a crossing route if his life depended on it. It's, and I think it's the growing injuries because the lateral movement. So that obviously must be an issue for him still. But if your number one corner is no longer a number one corner,
he had a decent game. I know the player you're thinking about. He had a decent game in general. I think he's playing a little better in general. And decent. So we'll see.
You're not paying him to be decent. You're paying
him.
Well,
Deebo Samuel did not go off today.
No. Well, he made enough plays. I mean, he did. He made enough plays.
Yeah, but it's not like
guys were there, the Dolphins. And they couldn't stop him. They couldn't tackle him. He'd drag guys. He'd make extra yards.
Listen, the Dolphins defense could have been a little better, but they did hold the 49ers to 4 field goals, 2 punts, and an interception. Yeah. So the defense did fine. They were a C. They were a C grade. The problem is the Dolphins offense was a C- or a D today.
Yeah, C. I'll go with C, definitely. For sure. C-.
C- or a D, yeah.
No, yeah, pretty close to a D, but a C-. I'll go. Because it was more about one guy.
Jeff Wilson had 1 carry, by the way. That's he was so fired up to play today. That's disappointing.
Yeah, well, he knew that it wasn't in the game plan for him to get a lot of carries. He knew that they weren't going to run a lot in that defense. That would be crazy. And the game was to pass, and they were there. The plays were there to be had. They just, unfortunately, the kid was absolutely off. We asked Marcel about injuries. It's still the same guys, Tua and
Waddle left the game. Waddle left the game temporarily with a leg injury, I believe it was.
Right.
Nobody else
noticed, right?
No, I was not in the locker room. I'm told it was a very quiet locker room. I was with Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. Waddle leg, Roberts calf, but neither one seems serious.
Okay. All right. What's the plan this week?
Well, I'm staying out here in California. I'm flying to Los Angeles tomorrow.
Where are they practicing?
Well, we're not supposed to reveal the exact location, but
I'm sorry. My fault. I did not know it was not
following the Dolphins. Following the Dolphins' wishes. I'm sure somebody will report it in the same way the Patriots' secret location in Palm Beach was reported, but they're practicing in Southern California, and myself and Hal Habib will both be there for the Palm Beach Post. I posted a column with my reaction to Tua Tagovailoa's press conference on the Palm Beach Post website. If you guys can do me a favor and check it out.
Yes, check it out on the Palm Beach Post. I'm trying to think of anybody in the Dolphin organization with any ties to UCLA or USC or something, and they're going to use their practice facilities or something like that. So don't even say anything. Don't even answer. Don't say nothing. That's just me.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it. They're trying to keep it private. We'll see if it stays that way.
You're right. Somebody probably won't. But remind them again. What did you post now on the Palm Beach Post so folks can check it out?
Yeah, I wrote about how unfortunately Tua Tagovailoa was outdueled by literally the last pick in the last NFL draft, and how disappointing that is. But how Tua accepted responsibility, and hey, that's better than Zach Wilson.
Is it an aberration? Do you predict that Tua will be back to playing the way he was playing?
He'll play better
all year long this week against the Los Angeles Chargers. I can't believe I got that right.
And the Chargers lost to the Raiders today. And
they're
the
led
Dolphins
by a big little choker. So I'm used to the big guy choking. What did he do?
The Dolphins 5 sacks. 5 sacks.
Any fourth quarter interceptions by him? Come on, tell me.
Listen, it doesn't always have to be about Tua versus Herbert, although it is next week. It is. I'll give you that.
Really? Yeah. That's all you're going to be writing about next week. You're going to be writing about how I believed in Tua at first, but then I waffled over to Justin. Now I'm waffling back over to Tua. And would you know it? Today, this week, we're going to find out. Is it Tua or is it Herbert moving forward? That's going to be one of your headlines, I'm sure.
Well, when Tua outdueled Herbert in their first meeting, Tua was very honest going in, telling me that he knows he, for the rest of his life, will be compared to Justin Herbert. So at least he has a good perspective of reality on that one.
Yeah, no, of course. And they got to live with each other for the rest of their lives. I mean, that's just kind of the way it was. Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, right?
Ryan Leaf,
they were tied to the hip the entire time. Yeah, the Raiders beat the Chargers 27-20. So the Chargers dropped to 6-6. Herbert, a spectacular 28 of 47, 335, and a touchdown. Okay. All right. There you go. All right. So is it aberration or not? You're not escaping from this question.
I said I think he'll play better next. He'll play better next week than he did today. I think he'll play better. I'm not saying that he's going to play up to the level that he did in those 3 games against Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland. We have to remember that those defenses were poor. These are all factors. How good is the opposing defense? Where's the game played? What's the weather?
What happens if he hits all the throws today that he normally hits?
I know, but he didn't.
What do you think happens?
I wish he did.
No, but what I'm saying, if he normally hits those throws, then what kind of a game does he have against the Niners? He tears them up, right?
Yeah, well, they would have won. Yeah, they would have won. So,
all right.
Unfortunately, Tua was outdueled by the last pick in the draft.
All right, so you say he plays better. I say he goes back to playing the way he was playing and sizzles the Chargers for close to 400 yards in 3.
It's going to be an offensive. Yeah, it's going to be an offensive game. This might be 41-38. Listen, we've seen a lot of very fun, very exciting Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes games. I don't know, when Justin Herbert goes against the likes of Joe Burrow and whatnot. Those are always, and Josh Allen. Those are always fun, exciting, high-scoring, who has the ball last type of shootouts. Sign me up for 41-38. Tua has the ball with 3 minutes to go. That'd be great. Hope it happens.
Sign me up. Dolphins win by 17. Comfortable fourth quarter for you. You've got most of your story written. Right. There you go.
I'm trying to get some Mexicans, so let me out of here.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, tell him everywhere to go in Los Angeles, too. Send it to him as Schad Joe. Joe, we love you. Be safe for your travels. We'll catch up during the week. There we go. Hijinks Sports Grill. We've had enough hijinks for the evening from Joe Schad. He's out of here.